Coming up on today's show, we take a little bit of a trip down memory lane, the way things used to be somewhat in Disney, and we hit a couple of the news stories regarding country bears and so on and so forth. That's coming up on Traveling with the Mouse. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 459. I am your host for this episode. My name is John. I am joined, as always, by my OG host. That is Adam.
What's up, everybody?
How's it going today, Adam?
Wonderful. Well,
wonderful.
Aside from cyber issues from,
Yes, from CrowdStrike.
Yes, which I didn't know. Never heard of before today.
Yeah, I want to say I remember. It sounded familiar to me, but it's not something that's like just rolls off the tongue. It's not an everyday conversation by any means.
Yeah.
I'm still not exactly sure what CrowdStrike does, but obviously it does something other than mess up people's lives. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I started thinking about this for whatever reason. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But I looked up Return to Treasure Island on YouTube. You remember Return to Treasure Island?
It's not on Disney Plus, I assume.
No. Though I don't know the reason why.
I don't know. I remember.
But I actually used to like that one back when I was growing up. I mean, that's probably an odd one for a kid to like, I guess, growing up, other than the fact that it is a pirate story.
Yeah. I remember watching it, but it's probably been 30 years since I've seen it or more. But yeah.
Yeah, well, it was like a mini series. It was forgot how many parts there was to it. It was several.
I just remember the kid actor that was Jim Hawkins. I remember him.
The kid actor?
Wasn't he a kid?
No.
Or am I thinking
in Return to Treasure Island, he was grown up. Christopher Guard was the actor who played him.
Dang, I'm forgetting. So I'm confusing it with Muppet Treasure Island.
Quite possibly. Which is also good. It's hilarious. Especially Blonde Pierre.
Yes, first. That was.
It's like Billy Bones.
Yeah. Golly.
Anyway, yeah.
The Muppets.
But
anyway.
One of the character, the man who played Long John Silver in that series, some may recognize his voice because it is the one and only Brian Blessed who voiced Granddad Dog in Peppa Pig, right?
Oh, that probably why I felt like I knew
You recognize the voice, right?
That's why I knew, who is this voice? It sounds familiar.
Like, well, I woke up this morning.
That's some,
sky.
Deep subconscious stuff there.
Right, exactly. Brian Blessed was in there. Anyway.
Nice.
But
wow.
That's digging into the past. Most people probably don't even remember that movie.
Yeah, that's
Disney related.
That's a deep cut there. It's a very deep cut. But I remember you guys watching it, but I was kind of young.
Thinking back, what would you say is the time period that you probably remember the most regarding Disney, like the earliest, maybe your fondest period?
Mid-90s is probably my original,
Parks-wise or just Disney-wise? Just like in general?
Both. Because The Lion King was my
Yeah, Lion King was obviously
movie.
The pinnacle, I guess.
I remember Aladdin, though.
Yeah.
And Pocahontas. Mostly Lion King, though, was peak for me.
See, it's weird. It's like they peaked at different times to me because I think the Epcot that I prefer was right before they changed it.
Prior to 94.
Yeah, it was right before they changed it. And the reason being is because they still had remnants of the old Epcot, but it was somewhat complete. Like they had already added Maelstrom, Norway, the Norway Pavilion and the Seas and Wonders of Life. I started to say Cranium Command. It was an attraction in Wonders of Life, but stuff like that. So I would say for me, probably around 92, 93-ish was probably what I would consider the pinnacle of Epcot.
Yeah, it was nice.
What would you say would be the pinnacle of Magic Kingdom?
For me personally, or just in general?
Yeah, for you personally, we'll say. When do you think Magic Kingdom had has it already reached its peak? Is its peak still in the future? I mean,
I think honestly, it's probably now.
You think you like it best now?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what I mean, other than like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, what am I really missing? Yeah.
I guess it kind of depends. I mean, obviously things need to change, things need to update, but there are some eras that maybe it's just I think I had the most fun
Mm.
initially going on trips when I was like 20, like when I was growing up. Really, it's weird. Like I had fun when I was a kid, but it's like when you're in that era
Mm-hmm.
when you can go and kind of contribute or pay your own way,
Yeah.
right?
And you can kind of do
When
your
you're
own
in that
thing.
time period, you can kind of do more of your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the first time you could just do what you wanted type deal
Yeah.
there.
Okay. So now that you mentioned that, there was one time we went in 2010. Everybody else took a mid-afternoon nap, but I decided I just want to go get a Dole Whip. So I just walked over. We were at the Bay Lake Tower.
Right.
And I just walked over, walked in, got a Dole Whip, and walked back to the
You
Contemporary.
just felt like it.
That's all I did. I was like, I kind of want a Dole Whip. So I did that. Just so that having that freedom of not being able to, when you're a kid, you have to do whatever
Yeah.
everybody else is doing. You don't really have
Right.
as much freedom.
You don't have as much of a say, I guess.
That was the first thing that I thought of having that kind of freedom.
Yeah, because I remember there would be times when we were younger, it's like they wouldn't go certain places. Like we would see something maybe we wanted to do, but it's like or like just like no. Or,
Yeah. Be like, oh, that looks cool though.
well, you're not going.
Yeah, like I don't remember going to Hollywood Studios since the first year, since '89 until '97. I don't know that we went. If we did, I didn't do a whole lot.
Yeah, no, going with family. Okay, so I was 10. I would have turned 11 later that year, but I was 10 at the time of the trip when we first when we went to well, it was opening month, I think.
Hey,
Yeah, of the original Disney MGM studio.
MGM, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting because even though we look back fondly on some of the things that were there that day now,
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that it only had like 4 things
Yes, it
open
wasn't very
probably,
impressive.
yeah, it probably factored into, our parents not wanting to go back at that point in
Uh-huh.
time. But so it ended up being for me the next time that we were there and went to the studios was in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it I'm sure had to do with price, because
Probably.
it's not cheap to get even back then for, because
How many
you
kids,
may
right?
sound like it, but I mean, obviously people weren't making quite as much as well. You got to factor that in.
Yeah,
So,
right. Yeah, of course, inflation and
yeah, I was going to say,
just
people always think back to,
price
man, it
and
only cost that much? Yeah, well, this
yeah,
is what the
in
wages
today's
were.
dollars, it would have. Yeah, exactly right. A lot different.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, sure, it seems great.
Right.
Now, I do believe like in those days, it was probably a little more balanced as far as more so than now, as far as what the cost compared to what people made. It was probably a little more
Right.
balanced than we
Yes.
currently see
Yeah.
it, but
Probably.
yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
But even like a 2019, I would say it was still pretty good, right?
Yeah. That
As
was
far
when it
as
was starting to get a little crazy, but yeah.
it's funny, people would say, "Oh, you're going there again," but I can't honestly say I can't think of a single trip that was the same. Like
Right.
it always feels different. There's always a different experience in some way, shape, or form. Even when you go do familiar things.
Yeah.
So
And I remember as a kid, I was at 11 going to MGM still at the time in the 97 and really loved it. Like, and still have fond memories of what's
yeah, it looked a
left
lot
of,
different.
right. But what's left, like my favorite areas are like around the Barron Derby and Sunset Boulevard, just because that area is still kind of what it used to look like. And a lot of fond
Yeah,
memories. The music, the atmosphere is kind of cool.
we got to be honest. I was pretty fond of the, like you say, mid to late '90s era Hollywood
Mhm.
studios.
Yeah.
Really, the era that I had the most fun with there was, let's just say, post Rock and Roller Coaster, which was 1999, right?
Um,
So that was probably one of the best, in my opinion, of what it was like, right? So,
Yeah.
with the exception
Yeah.
of the backlot tour being watered down as much as it was.
Right.
Other than that was the golden era of Disney's MGM studios, we'll say, is what it was then.
Yeah. Because you had Great Movie Ride still, which was always fun to do. I never didn't enjoy Great Movie Ride.
Right.
And Tower of Terror, you had
Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster, Star Tours. Yeah. The stunt show, which is still managed to hang on all
even when Lights, Motors, Action was around.
Ah, yes, that was
enjoyable. Of course,
a brief time period,
mid 2000s, but
actually, I think that came whenever they did the what was that? The 50-year thing that they did. What was that? There was some kind of celebration. Was it the 100 years? Maybe. Was it the 100 years of magic? There was some kind of celebration they did where they brought
stuff from around
other
the world.
from around the world to other parks. And Light Motors Action was the one they brought to the studios from Paris, I think. Was where it was.
It says 2005 to 2016.
Yeah, but it was brought over there in 05 because it was part of that whatever they were doing in 05 when they made that they did that castle makeover in 05.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was I forgot the celebration now.
Was it because Disneyland was 50?
Maybe that was it. And they did something everywhere.
Yeah, most likely.
I don't remember what they brought to Epcot that year though. But it was one of those things where they brought a little something everywhere. It was a fun era. I really liked the early 2000s in particular, late 90s, early 2000s in particular, as far as going on trips there. It was some of the funnest times. And I enjoyed it a little later.
Yeah. Like once the Fast Pass, like even the paper Fast Pass era, like 2009, 10, that was still enjoyable.
Well, see, the funny thing is they had just started doing Fast Pass. I think we were there in like 2000. Wasn't that the earliest?
Wasn't that ballpark?
So you didn't really need it during the time of year that we were going in 2000, but they had it available, of course, and so we were like, "Oh, how's this work?" type deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we ended up getting a Fast Pass for like Soarin' or something. We did it with like Test Track and Soarin'.
I still have.
But that's where they issued you a ticket and you had to like go somewhere and come back.
Right. I think I still have that Soarin' Fast Pass, by the way.
Yeah.
One that we never used or something.
Yeah, I have one. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were still using the paper Fast Pass in Disneyland for a long time.
Yeah, I remember getting them still, not that long ago.
I think it was available
a few years ago.
Did I get one? No, I opted not to. I think I opted to get in line. I don't think, but they had them for Radiator Springs Racers back in 2012, so they were still using it then.
Yeah, I think even
of course,
after
I think
that,
Magic Kingdom was still using it then because they had not released Fast Pass Plus just yet. It was the next year when they did Fast Pass Plus.
Yeah,
back before the death of the spontaneity of dining period.
Yeah.
No, there was a time period in the mid-2000s to early 2010s that dining was like, if you were certain places, if you didn't get it on the 90-day mark, you weren't getting it.
Mm.
So
yeah, that was up till like 2019.
Yeah.
I think nowadays...
Well, it breathed a little bit over the time period. Yeah. Like back then, say, for instance, Le Cellier was probably one of the hardest tickets. It became easier.
Yeah. Well, that always shifts around, too. You know, what's the most popular and hardest to get.
A lot of people would argue that it wasn't Le Cellier that was the best. It was, what year? Gosh, what's the name of it? The Yachtsman Steakhouse.
Yeah, there was a time when that was...
Yeah.
That was the one
Still might
of the
be
best.
for some.
Yeah.
Just depends.
Indeed.
Anyway, we've been taking a little bit of a trip down
memory lane.
Yeah, memory lane somewhat.
We are about to start a new era of the multi-pass and single pass, whatever.
Isn't that already... That hasn't started yet, right?
Well, as of this coming out, it starts this week. It's the 24th. So in a day or two, when this episode is released, it will be debuting. So we'll definitely have some intel next week on...
We will find out
how it rolled out.
Yeah.
Speaking of, it looks like they did update the app already. That was one story that came out, but they're going to increase the guest experience staff next week because they expect a lot of questions. I'm sure they will definitely get them, as they do when they change everything.
I take it their update was more successful than CrowdStrike's update.
Yeah.
So.
Tropical there. We've definitely had issues with that. But
I'm guessing Disney didn't use any of these programs.
They definitely had some issues with it, but I don't think it was anything major. Let me see. I was reading something earlier about that.
You know, it was funny. I can't remember the name of the program off the top of my head now, but you've seen like on TPM vids how they have like the the ride breakdowns, right?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So Toy Story Mania had some sort of a malfunction where like a Windows like error message popped up on the screen, and it was one that was like a message that like a program that you would associate with like Windows 7 or something like that. The thing that Toy Story is operating on, apparently. Like, is it operating on Windows 7, really? Or Windows ME, maybe?
Wow. Yeah, I hope not. Yeah, I've seen a lot of fake pictures of like old looking Windows.
This wasn't fake. This was an actual. This was on video.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
This was during a ride breakdown.
Nice.
So yeah, I was like, maybe they found that the older system is a little more reliable in some cases.
Yeah.
I wonder what they're running Rise on. Windows 95.
Yeah, I hope it's something newer, but
I remember I'm gonna say the earliest one I remember
a Mac
was 3.1 that I actually used was Windows 3. And that's the earliest one I remember that I actually used.
95 was the first one I remember having.
I do remember 95. That was like one of the first ones that looked more advanced.
Yeah, and then 98
it had a
like,
similar. Yeah, I always felt like it was like the odd years that were the best usually.
Yeah,
like I felt like 95 was better than 98. ME was crap.
Yeah, it was terrible. I think Windows
XP
7
was better.
or XP, that was the one.
Yeah, that was the one that was better.
Like the best one for a while.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about that? But
I don't know, because of the crash thing. But I mean,
we're talking about trip down memory lane too.
Everybody always has a problem with the next time that they update that, though. It seems like now. Much like Disney, anytime they update anything, somebody has a problem.
Yeah, I mean, something. So I was reading through, it says the outage did affect the cast deployment system, which was used to assign people to various spots to operate rides or cash registers, whatever.
So did they have people not show up or doubled them or?
Well, it says everything was being done manually throughout today. Everyone seems to have risen to the challenge, though, because everything's operating normally with some minor exceptions. So they had some system issues, but they were able to work around it.
I'm a little surprised that Genie Plus isn't running on CrowdStrike. Just saying.
Yeah, Genie Plus.
Anyway.
Only got another couple of days before the Genie goes back in the bottle, I guess.
Maybe.
Or the lamp.
Genie goes back in the lamp.
Phenomenal cosmic power in the middle space.
So I guess Jafar is going back in the bottle. I mean, Genie going back in the bottle, not Jafar.
Yeah.
Jungle Cruise, it's not, will it be August when it goes down for Jingle Cruise adjustments?
Was that official? But it's going to...
I think so. It says release a statement about the closure, which begins August the 26th. I didn't think they had to do it that quick last year, though, did they? I mean, I thought they did the... it's just closing for refurbishment, but they said the attraction is scheduled to reopen for guests before the winter holidays. So if they're going to reopen before the winter holidays, it's going to be Jingle Cruise, right?
I hope they are, but I had not heard, because I feel like there was a story out that said they did not list Jingle Cruise on the Christmas party. It was just Jungle Cruise. So, or it wasn't on there at all, but yeah, something like that.
I think they may have kind of tried to combine. I mean, I could be wrong. I think they're trying to combine doing regular maintenance with changing it to Jingle Cruise. It's funny. Like, it seemed like every time, back in the day, every time we would go to Disney World, seems like one of two things was always down for refurbishment. It was either the Treehouse or the Jungle Cruise, like all the time. Oh, I guess
Yeah.
it is weird because the times we would be there is usually relatively popular things, but those were the two things that would always have, like, they'd be closed for refurbishment anytime we would go somehow.
And nowadays, there's always something down, seems like.
Right. Well, Pan's down now, right?
Yeah, currently.
Yeah, Pan's down now.
And Big Thunder will be next very shortly, if not overlapping with Pan, probably.
Hey, this is a testament to how busy it is, okay? Or not busy, I should say. They would never do that in the summertime back in the day.
No,
you would never hear that.
Yeah, peak for a while.
So, yeah, they would need Big Thunder, for instance, during the summer. Have we even looked at how Tiana's has been doing since it's kind of been more official that it's open?
It has been doing much better, but it still goes down a lot. I was looking at the thrill data on it, and it has improved the reliability. But I did want to mention, because I think did I talk about this? Wanting Country Bear merch now that
you want Country Bear merch, or people do?
I did.
Oh.
So they finally actually have something in the shop next to Country Bear in the Frontier, the trading post. Basically, they have a trading shop, but they have T-shirts. That's it.
That's all they have.
Yeah.
Is it a good looking one, at least? A good design?
I mean, it's basically on the front, it just has the logo or the title. And then on the back, it's basically the poster, like the playbill poster looking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, like most merchandise you saw from Country Bears was Big Al.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, Big Al was the star, basically, of Country Bear Jamboree.
Yep. I wish they had plush Country Bears of the different characters, pins, more than just a shirt that's okay, but
Big Al also bears a remarkable resemblance to a former local radio personality in our area.
Yes, I think we always made that joke. Yeah. He did kind of resemble him, yeah.
Somewhat.
By the way, that shirt is $34.99, so they're really trying to gouge people on that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's about the average cost of a T-shirt nowadays.
At Disney, but, I mean, come on. $25 is what it should be. But anyway.
So, speaking of the Country Bears, this is kind of Mom was mentioning something about how a Limby had a teddy bear.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get that?
You
got it. Okay. I told her, I said, I bet Adam got it.
Yep.
So you do have that.
I have teddy bear.
I can't remember how big that was. Was it pretty good? It's a stuffed one, right?
Yeah, it's like 12 inches, maybe a little more than a foot.
Do you happen to remember what year she got that one?
I don't remember her getting it at Disney. I thought she bought it on...
ordered it? Oh, it was like QVC or something.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't think she bought it there.
It was interesting that's because I don't ever remember seeing very much teddy bear merchandise, believe it or not. I don't remember that anyway.
Yeah, like I said, they should. They
was always Big Al.
They should have something.
Yeah.
I think for the 50th, they released a set of 3. It was like Big Al, Henry, and I forgot who the other one was. Anyway.
Well, anyway, I'm actually, I don't know if anxious is the right word to use, but looking forward, I guess, to seeing the new show whenever I'm there again.
Yeah.
Just because from what I've seen of it, I've actually thought they came out rather good.
Yeah.
I thought they did a good job without it being too over the top when it came to.
That seems to be the overall consensus. Is it's good.
It's not the original, but it's good.
Yeah, they did a good job with overhauling it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've watched it again since we last talked about it, and
it's acceptable.
Yeah, even like I said, the whole new world. I had an issue. Like I was like, it didn't feel right, but after watching it again, it's like it has some humor and seriousness in it, if that makes sense. So I was like, yeah, okay, it's fine.
Well, obviously, I haven't finalized any plans, but we're looking to do the cruise, and perhaps prior to the cruise, do like a day at Magic Kingdom, perhaps. to do the new stuff because it has the newest of stuff.
Yeah.
Although it's hard to go and not hit Epcot for me. I would kind of like to do both, but I don't know. If it has to be one, it's definitely gonna be Magic Kingdom this time around. So
Yeah, that would make sense. And that's what we were talking about earlier. Is I think Magic Kingdom is really probably at its best right now because it's got the mix of the old and new. Like you
it's
got a
got
lot
the
of new
most
stuff, but it's also some of the classic stuff that has always been there. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think now is peak. Hollywood Studios is kind of hard to say. Like I like it now. It's a great park. It's just doesn't really. There's great stuff there, but it's all kind of just thrown in together.
I like some of the rides, but again, the idea of calling it a theme park. What is the theme?
Yeah, it's loosely movie IP stuff.
Right, like they've created two rather elaborate lands themed to two different IPs that they own. And the rest is kind of scattered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's all over the place, but
half the park is two IPs.
Yeah. And then the rest of it is...
I mean, because Hollywood Studios is not that big in size, so roughly half of it is nothing but Star Wars and Toy Story.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the other is a mix of various things. IP, non-IP.
Yeah. And they're good attractions, but it's like I said, as far as a theme, it's just there's no consistency, I guess, as to what it is.
Not really.
Like I said, it's like a bunch of cool rides were thrown up onto the bit of land there.
Yeah. So I found some stats on
Tiana.
The breakdowns, number of minutes per day it's been down, and it's definitely gotten a lot better. Which we
thought it would, as they got the sensors worked out.
Yeah, so as we're recording this, the last 3 days, the downtime, for example, today was only 4 minutes, which I'm like, how is that? How do they even have 4 minutes? But the previous day was 21 minutes, and then the previous day before that was 9. So it's been running much better. And then the week prior to that, it's averaged about an hour or 2 of downtime a day. So the chart looks like this before it opened, and then the first week was really bad, and then it's like dipped pretty significantly. So looks to be operating much better.
Well, we kind of anticipated that it would.
Yeah, but good news that it's they've worked out the kinks, it looks like, and they're getting it under control. Knock on wood.
So did we get any news really on what exactly mechanical upgrades were made to the Country Bear animatronics when we were talking about Country Bear a minute ago? Obviously, in Tiana, we know they're all new.
Yeah,
but
I've heard rumors that they use some of the old Splash Mountain animatronic things to upgrade them, but who knows? They look better, though. They definitely look more fluid.
There's a story that says, according to Imagineer Ken Ricci, the audio animatronics are still A100 figures, and they are still operated via hydraulics.
Really?
That said, the Bears have been completely refurbished from the ground up, complete with new components, new bushings, cables, actuators, bearings, and more.
Interesting.
And critically, Ricci noted that the auto animatronics have been updated to include compliance, whatever that means.
Is that like a new standard or something for...
Well, let's see. Compliance utilizes pressure sensors within the figures to allow for more natural and realistic movement with the A100 figures. The pressure sensor tells additional parts of the animatronic to move to allow for a more fluid-looking motion. For example, if a bear swings his arm out, his torso might also move to absorb the shock of the arm movement, making the arm movement appear more natural and less robotic. So we had, as we did notice, they do look very fluid. So apparently they did, upgrade them, but they're still A100s. So,
I mean, they don't look like, Kylo Ren on, that's a bad example. But they don't look, obviously like the shaman from Naviera Journey or anything, but
or anything from Tiana.
Yeah, or the new Tiana's or anything newer.
I think in some ways, I think these look better in some ways.
But they look really good. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. I mean, like their movements are really fluid. I bet this is about what they would like
when it
probably
opens.
Slightly better. Yeah, like when it opened, but slightly better.
Yeah,
you know
I think they've improved it upon probably what it liked, but over time, I'm sure they didn't look as good. But that's good to know.
It would have been interesting to see. Of course, they were never gonna put that kind of money into it when they were changing it. But it would be interesting to see what it would look like if they had done that to the splash figures.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. If they had done that prior to it closing,
right? Because they were,
they were moving pretty rough near the end.
I'm sure all the moisture or water,
Or it's probably like isn't Jack Sparrow an A100 still? I would think.
Maybe. That's a good question. I don't know.
I mean, that would make sense for him to fit in with the other pirates.
Perhaps.
But they actually move pretty fluid. I guess, I don't know, they've probably had some updates over the years.
Yeah, I wondered if, like, at the auction scene, if the pirate is, and the new Scarlet, what's her name, though? That's her name, Scarlet.
The new Scarlet? You mean the redhead?
Yeah. They look more
I thought it was called
fluid.
Scarlet. I thought her name was Scarlet.
Maybe it is.
Not?
But they look more fluid to me than an A100, but anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, they do, but they're not new. So, there you go. We got the answer. So.
Well, that's cool. Did you see this, too, about Carousel of Progress is, like, the seats in the theaters, or at least one of them, has been completely updated. Has a kind of modern retro color scheme, like the rows are different colors, but they're, like, retro colors.
Mm-hmm.
But it does make me wonder if they're eventually going to improve the show at all. That would be nice.
I would hope they would spend some money on it.
It was talked about.
Maybe that's included in the $17 billion.
Yeah, it was talked about for a long time that they would overhaul it, maybe change some of the scenes. But I mean, at this point,
yeah, because Dad needs to
doesn't
work.
make sense. Yeah.
He keeps especially that scene where he's got the fan. Apparently, that's when he seems to break down the most.
Yeah, understandable. But I mean,
it's really hot in that scene apparently because he's falling apart in there.
We've talked about this before, but it's like we toss around like, what would you do? Because at this point, you're going from the 40s to the 90s or whatever you want to call it, the future. That's a huge jump. So it's like.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, we're within, 5 years, we'll say, of the Great Depression being 100 years old, right? The crash.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we're close to that. And that's like the middle of the ride. That's the second scene is the 20s, right? So
yeah. They
skip 20 years every scene until they skipped like 60 years at the last one. But
I just think that they... I don't know. I think that you keep it the same because you just, it's almost like you would need like a Carousel Part 2 to truly do it justice because you need all of them in there. You know what I mean?
But I mean, we were just kind of having a trip down memory lane of our childhood and stuff. If you started in like the 60s and like recreated like the...
That'd be before me.
Right. But I mean, there are people who are older that would remember the 60s, and then you skip to the 80s, which is like, the kids are enjoying this thing called a Nintendo. Yes. It's never, I don't know. It would just be like
different era.
Yeah. I don't know. It would be nostalgic for us.
Well,
like, I don't know.
So they have this new Atari system. You ever heard of this?
Yes. You can play a whole arcade game in your house on your TV. What'll they think of next? Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
Or like, this thing here is a VCR.
Right. You can record stuff that's on the TV when you're not home. Yeah. Did you tape over our wedding video again? Sorry. Forgot to pull the tab on the tape. Yeah.
Yeah, you used to cover those things up or whatever it was, and like you couldn't even block it out.
Anyway, I mean, I think it would work if they did that.
I've ever taken one before. Because what was it? Was it the ones that you bought? Like if it was covered, you could record over it, right? Or was it the other way around?
I don't remember.
Because for some reason I was thinking it was if it was covered, you could record over it. So you could take like an official tape of some kind. Like if you wanted it to be, if you didn't want it anymore, you could record over it and use it as a recorded tape. Or you could actually like either put a piece of tape over that, or I can't remember. You maybe had to cut the little thing off or whatever.
I feel like you pulled a tab out or something to stop it from being able to record. I don't know.
I can't remember. Like that.
Yeah,
for some reason it was like covering that spot up made the difference.
Yeah, I guess it was like something that just stopped. I don't know. Who knows? It's been a while since I've had a VHS tape.
Right. It'd be interesting to find one now, actually.
Yeah.
Would it be compatible with today's TVs? How would you hook it up? I mean,
you'd have to
get an adapter of some kind.
An adapter for a VCR to have HDMI.
Yeah, they probably make them.
I'm sure they do.
I mean,
it's crazy.
With the ones that I wanted to still have digitally made, I sent them off to iMemories.
Yeah. So then the third scene would be like the early 2000s or something, and then I don't know.
I'm just trying for me to remember what happened in the. I mean,
like the iPhone or something is like
you're gonna reference the towers.
I can listen to all my music on this little thing right here.
And now they're gone.
Yeah.
Now they're a thing of the past.
It's called an iPod.
Take music for instance. Okay, we went from records to 8-tracks.
Yeah.
Records and 8-tracks were still around. Like 8-tracks didn't last very long.
No.
To cassette, to CD, to
digital.
Compiling it on a device. It's still digital, but now you don't carry the device with you really so much as you carry the device like it's all in one device now, your phone.
Yeah.
As we refer to it. Which is funny. This really like the term mobile device really fits better because it's way more than just a phone. Matter of fact, people almost do everything they possibly can to avoid talking on it. So it's really not a phone.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, we call it that. So,
I do very little phone talking on it.
There you go, phone
like 90% of it. Yeah.
We call them phones, but rarely use them as phones. We use them as everything but.
Yeah. Basically.
Text. We will email. We will social media. We will watch videos. We will do everything on this device except for talk, and we still call it a phone.
Anyway. Right, because it's like you're interrupting my I'm watching something when someone calls me. I'm like, why are you calling me? I'm like,
it's like, why are you calling me? Send me a text.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to watch something. Anyway, like stop calling me.
Anyway.
See, this is great stuff for Carousel of Progress, modernized
overhaul
version. And in the future, you can talk about, the future.
So where does Magic Kingdom go from here? Like we know we have Beyond Big Thunder coming, but what is Beyond Big Thunder?
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, we've heard rumors of like Radiator Springs. We've heard Coco.
Surely this D23, they're going to nail it down a little better, right? They got to.
Oh, I think that's definitely expected, and they teased
keeping it under wraps.
I've examined the image more.
You've been studying. You put it through the spectrometer.
Yeah. Well, just looking at it, like Big Thunder has its own feature, which to me says they're going to talk about Beyond Big Thunder in there. And I was informed that the Eiffel Tower was the Disney Studios park in Paris. I'm like, do they still have a water tower? The Eiffel Tower?
Apparently. I doubt there's water in it.
But still, someone was telling me that's what that was, not some flashback to Hollywood, MGM. But yeah, the fact that it's Big Thunder Mountain shows up in the artwork tells me that they're gonna talk about that for sure.
Yeah,
there's a ton of land back there too. It just depends on how they want to lay it out,
I half suspect that they're going to talk about, give some sort of idea of what they're going to do with the Wonders of Life Pavilion.
I hope so, because I would love to see them use that space again. because it is
I've got a feeling
wasted
too,
space.
though. Just it's weird that with that name Horizons and the lettering
Man, if they
orangish,
announce that, that would
something
make up
involving
for
Horizons.
a lot of sins.
I mean, are they? I question. I was like, how would they do it, and where would they put it? Are they going to do something with Wonders of Life next to it? I mean,
I would hope.
next to the old
Yeah.
old building. I mean,
Dude, that would be 1,000 times better than whatever the play pavilion was going to be.
yeah,
So maybe that's, because Horizons was like a sequel to Carousel of Progress in a way. So
right.
maybe they could do a new take on Horizons.
It's still very interesting that they chose that wording and said it like that.
Yeah. Now I got to
So-
look at like satellite pictures of the Horizons building and see if the size is similar to the Wonders of Life to see if it.
I can already tell you that's a no because that was a
Yeah.
huge building.
That's what I thought. It was big, way bigger than Mission Space. So it's like they're not
I'm
going
gonna
to.
say yeah, you could probably fit like 2 mission spaces in it.
Right. So they're not going to do that.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe they're going to touch mission space only because they have the restaurant now, which you wouldn't. Although that could fit. They could fit in with Horizons if they decided they wanted to do it. But I find it hard to believe they're going to touch that space.
Literally. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Even though mission space does not draw people in like it did initially.
I would be curious the numbers that Horizons got if it's similar to what Mission Space is getting now.
Well, Horizons once upon a time it was hard to tell because it was an omni mover, so it kept
It
people.
could eat a lot of people, yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm just curious.
and for some reason, it was an overhanging one, similar to that. I mean, the ride system was actually similar to that of Mansion, but yet it didn't seem to have that many stops, like breakdown stops. I remember it happening sometimes. It didn't stop near as often as Mansion did. Then again, it might be because it existed during the time period when there wasn't quite as many people with disabilities going and coming through.
Yeah. That needs to be factored in, obviously, if they're going to do an Omni Mover attraction in the future. But
I don't rule out that they're considering revisiting the concept, but just newer and different, probably different technology.
Or would it be like Disney? I mean, because to think that they would do this without putting IP in it, is it going to be like Disney's IP history of, I don't know.
No,
Like-
there's I've already resigned to no matter what they do, there's going to have some sort of IP involved.
So it just seems counter to everything they would be doing. So
Maybe they kind of combine it somehow with Inside Out.
I
I
just
don't know.
I can't imagine they're actually going to do a new Horizons, because it just doesn't seem like they're what they're
It's funny.
talking about.
It's funny. I always, back in the like the "We Go On" song from Illuminations. The ending song from Illuminations.
Oh yeah,
We go
Illuminations.
on
Yes,
through
I
the
just think about
joy
it.
and through
Yes.
the
Mhm.
tears.
Mhm.
So, like in one of the opening lines, it says, "We can see a new horizon built on all that we have done."
Mm.
I always thought that was an interesting line back then.
New
in the day.
Horizons.
Yeah, a
Maybe.
new horizon built on all that we have done. I was like, except they're not building a new horizon. They built a new mission space.
Man, if they did that though, that would bring the house down. That would get the biggest applause of the whole show or presentation. But
That's another thing I remember back in the day. We were watching like the new photos online on like in message boards and stuff of like the demolition photos of Horizon, like how much progress had been made with that and everything
I
back in
remember
the
that.
day.
Yeah, I do.
Yep.
And then something is coming to this space or whatever they had.
Right.
something-
Watch this space
or-
for new development or something
Yeah.
like that.
I remember that sign. Oh,
They always did stuff like that.
heartbreaking.
Teasers to it. But that was also back in an era where you didn't know exactly what something was going to be before it came there. Like nowadays, the information just travels too fast. So can't really hold it back.
Right.
So this was interesting. There was a story a couple of days prior to us recording this, right? That said that
Mhm.
Disney World finally added Tiana to the extended evening hours, but then there was an update just recently. It said Tiana's Bayou Adventure will not be available during extended evening
Right.
hours.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand why, but...
Yeah, it's not like it's the weather's cooling down or anything.
No.
So maybe it's just
I don't know why it wouldn't be in the extended evening hours, though. It makes no sense. Splash always was.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, the only thing, like, depending on the time of year.
Like way back when they first started doing this, when it was called E-Ride.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually a separate, like, paid ticket. It was
cheap. Yeah.
It was cheap. It was like $15 extra, right?
Yeah.
To do E-Ride. But even then, yeah, they didn't have everything open. It was truly called E-Ride because they had what was called the E-ticket attractions only open.
Right. Yeah, back in the day.
Mm-hmm. I remember going to an E-Ride.
Yeah. And it was probably early 2000s or something?
Yeah.
Mid-2000s?
Although I do remember asking one time if they were having E-Ride one night because it was not like the schedule was very erratic when it came to E-Ride when it first came out. But I remember asking the City Hall, I guess, on Main Street, asking them about E-Ride that night. But I did find out at that point, like, Magic Kingdom was scheduled to close at like 9, I think, originally. And for whatever reason, they extended it that night to 11. It was like a last-minute change. You used to see that now, and back then, like, they would change it the day of, in some cases, the closing, which was kind of cool. I really miss those days.
Yeah.
That was cool. But anyway.
Indeed. We should probably talk about Rise of the Resistance doing single rider.
Yes. That was one I was going to mention.
Which,
thank you.
For challenge runners out there, that's going to help shave some time, most likely.
Yeah, we had a little inside information to someone doing it, right? And if I'm not mistaken, it skips the transport part?
Yes, you basically start at the Star Destroyer. That's where you jump in the line, or jump to the experience, is in the hangar with the big stormtroopers. You start there. So you miss some of the immersion, but if you just want to ride the hangar, I don't know, the line ends up taking you right there when you go in.
Doesn't that kind of ruin some of the so-called illusion, as we're saying?
Yeah.
Because you're not really being transported.
Right. So again, I don't know if they decided to make this permanent or not, but they've been testing it. So,
well, we kind of knew it was just a matter of time before they stopped sticking strictly to timelines and story. We knew it was only a matter of time.
Yeah, I mean, they've kind of already done that with the land itself, so why not do it with the ride?
Like, how often do people act like they're in character? Do they still do that pretty much?
A lot of the time, but I've seen a Rey character a lot, yeah. I've seen it happen a lot. But I think you skip the Rey pre-show and the transport part, and you just start on the Star Destroyer, so it's a little weird. But it does make you wonder how many times they've not filled all the seats in the ride vehicles because of, not having single riders to fill them.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll help the regular line move faster to fill them up. I don't know. Will it?
Seems pretty obvious that ride now becomes don't buy the light for the challenge anyway. Don't buy the lightning lane, just do single rider.
Yeah, assuming they're going to keep this going, so you'd have to. That would be the other problem. They
probably will. I don't think they would introduce this and take it away because the single rider is probably only likely to increase.
Yeah.
Somewhat. And
this is testing.
In doing so,
limited.
Yeah, it says testing, but in doing so, I actually think single rider in a weird way helps out the regular line, unlike Lightning Lane.
Yeah.
Because it fills up the rides, like you said. It doesn't hurt it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we'll see if it's beneficial. If they think it's beneficial, they'll keep it going. But so we'll see.
Well, with something like Rise, I just feel like it's beneficial because there are some people that will opt for the single rider when they would normally be in the regular line. I guess, does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think there would.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it continues or not, but
Not a super high number by any means, but.
Yep.
But Rise's weight is probably kind of level off now. It's probably only around an hour, right? On average, I bet.
Probably right now in the summer, yeah.
But I just bet that normally, depending on the time of day, like if you get there first thing or if you're one of the last groups, you probably don't wait that long.
Yeah. Actually, it's a good thing. I should look up Rise of the Resistance on here just to see what
if it's changed.
If Tiana's is doing better than it, which I would imagine it is.
Yeah,
based on what I've seen.
Tiana somewhat had a proven ride system that was just upgraded. So I would think over time it would
easily work out the kinks. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot easier than Rise because Rise just has a lot of moving parts.
Word. Oh, yeah. Well, it's lightning lane availability. I don't see the downtime on this. But average wait times have definitely gone down. So 2021 to 2024, the average wait time was about 2 hours for 2021 and 2022. But it's down to 83 minutes now as the average wait time in 2024.
What was it in 2021?
In 21, it was about 2 hours, 117.
Average?
Yeah, that was the average wait time. In 2023, it was 89 minutes, and now in 2024, 83 minutes.
Yeah, because it's kind of...
Stand by.
It's kind of reaching that plateau, where people have done it, and they don't have to do it every single time.
Yeah. So they're tracking the delays. Actually, it's interesting. There's a couple of days here where there aren't any downtime, but
I do really enjoy the experience, though. I think it's still worth doing.
Yeah, I mean, we only did it, but I don't think it's worth the $20 individual or single pass, whatever it's going to be called.
Multi-pass. Huh.
But we went at the end of the day, like in the last hour, and it was like a 20-minute wait or 25.
Yeah.
But
I think the last hour...
evac, but...
Yeah. I think the last hour is your best bet when it comes to Rise nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's worth the price to pay for a lightning lane for it.
I bet the time period whenever people are lining up for Phantasmic, it gets pretty low too.
It could, yeah. I mean, I think that's around the time we jumped in line, and it would have been, if it hadn't broken down, it would have been great.
Like I remember once upon a time, like right around the time Phantasmic was loading, it seemed to really, like Rock and Roller Coaster was way lower.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, things like that.
So it's kind of all over the place still. The last few days this week, 70 minutes of downtime, and then a couple of days where there's no data on it or there's no downtime reported, which is hard to believe. And then a few days of like 2 hours of downtime.
Yeah.
So it's kind of all over the place, but
it's going to be one of those rides that it has gotten somewhat better, but it's always going to be plagued with downtime. It's like Test Track. It's been plagued with downtime for 25 years.
Yep. And even if it runs, like there's always some effect or something that's not working the way it was originally intended, which I've seen.
I think that video from 99 might have been the last time that car crashed.
Yeah.
So
the one you have. Yeah.
It just might have been.
There's just certain things that just, there's no point, or they just don't put the effort in to fix it.
And who knows, you may have seen the very last time that the gun
cannon
moved in Rise.
Yeah. Right, those big cannons, yeah. They just don't bother with them anymore.
And somebody out there saw the Yeti move for the last time.
Yeah.
Very early on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
That's one thing that I don't think you'll have to worry about with the new Country Bear musical jamboree is seeing a scene that's going to break down. I don't think you have to worry about that.
Yeah.
It's going to not function on a regular basis.
Well, apparently, though, it's the smoke effect on the fiddle when he's playing.
Yeah, you're right. That might go away, believe it or not. They do little things like that sometimes.
Yeah. It's a funny effect. I like that effect, but yeah.
Kind of like in the early days, Collie had a lot more effects. I don't know if you remember that. Colorado Rapids had a lot more effects.
Oh, right. It was a lot more like fog or steam effects. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember that.
And smells even.
Yeah. Especially
Like
when the forest was burning, seeing,
Yeah.
Mm.
They really drove the point home about what it was about. Now they don't even tell you pretty much what it's about.
Right.
You have to figure it out for yourself, and it's kind of there, but
I wonder, cast members who have worked that position of the drop at Kali, is that the loneliest cast member position you can have? Because you're just like,
what do you mean?
The cast member that's like, you're going through this forest and you just see like a head peeking up over the logs.
What are they watching for? Make sure people aren't like
for the
trying to
drop.
jump out
I
or
think
something.
I don't know if they're manually pushing the button to like make the drop, but it's like, or they're just like, I don't know,
trying to time it maybe. Or
maybe. But
I can't figure out.
Position.
Speaking of cast members in a lonely position, I can't figure out what was the point of putting a cast member where they did on Tiana's versus Splash. Like right, when you're about to go on the lift hill and they're to the right. What is the point of that cast member?
Which cast member?
Okay, so like you get in the logs, you turn the corner, right? You're about to go to the very first lift hill, and there's a cast member right there on the right in like this gate or whatever it is.
I guess
I've seen it in every single video I've watched. Was it not there when you did it?
No,
because it's like right before, back when it was Splash, you would go up the hill, and of course the frog would be there telling the story, right? But this is just before you go up the lift, just to the right there. There was an area there on Splash, but nobody was ever there. And every video I've seen of Tiana so far, there's somebody there, a cast member there.
Interesting. Maybe it does have something to do with what's causing some of the issues, that they need somebody there to. For some reason,
I don't know what their purpose is, other than to wave.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty much what it seems like they're doing.
There's obviously a reason, I think.
Yeah, there's got to be something.
Did you see? I don't think I get National Geographic Channel, but they have a documentary about
National
Epcot.
Geographic is on Disney Plus, right?
It is, but it says they're doing a behind the scenes documentary on the Epcot transformation that they did. So I'm curious to see what they say about that, about reimagining the neighborhoods and all the whatever the work they didn't really do that they were going to do. So I'm curious what they actually talk about in there.
I know we've kind of commented on this about the new Communicore Hall, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like that area that seems very blank right now.
Yeah, bland.
Which it seems like, I mean, maybe we need to kind of wait until it goes through a couple of seasons to make sure, because it seems like in their plans they did intend to make it kind of a blank canvas so they could actually change it for each festival
or whatever.
Yeah, like for each festival.
Yeah, I mean, let's give it till the Food and Wine Festival to see if they actually do anything good.
Yeah, what they add, and then how they change it from Food and Wine to arts.
Or the festival holidays in between.
Yeah, all that stuff. We'll see how they change it over those seasons.
If they do anything.
Before we execute it. I think we've already put it on trial.
I mean, most people have already...
Let's stay the execution.
Well, I'd say most people have already executed it, to be honest.
Yeah.
They just had to put something there. So maybe they'll make it better in the future, but...
Yeah. I'm sorry, but that news story of the smoke coming from Ernest's violin is pretty funny to me.
Right.
Like, I just feel like that's such an obvious effect.
Yeah.
So fast.
I think some of the pictures or video I've seen is like, it looks like the smoke effect went a little too much. Like it did a little too much.
Well, they have fog. They have fog during a whole new world. Is something on? They think something on fire them? Right. No, they didn't think so.
Not at all. People will post anything these days.
Very much so.
Well,
I think we've talked about things long enough, right?
Yeah, I think we hit our mark.
I think we're ready to exit.
You're right.
So we're going to wrap things up for this show. So if you want to find more about us, you can find us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. That is all at TWTM Podcast. We have a Spreadshirt store in which you can get your exclusive TWTM merchandise. That is shop.spreadshirt.com/TWTM podcast. We also have a YouTube channel, and where can you find access to that, Adam?
Our website, travelingwiththemouse.com. You can find links to that and more. And we have an email address, podcast@travelingwiththemouse.com. Send us a message.
So for Adam, this is John. This has been Traveling with the Mouse, and we hope you will join us on our next trip.
Down memory lane.
Which is somewhat what we did today.
Yeah.